International.
More horsepower. I'm going to give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm going to shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet. And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're going to be perfect.
The 5th championship for Dale Earnhardt. It's official.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1991 Winston Cup champion, Mr. Dale Earnhardt.
It is now 1992. Happy New Year!
It's been only a little more than 2 months since the 91 season ended, but so much has happened during that time. Teams have changed their 91 cars to conform to 92 rules. But before we find out who will perform best, the Winston Cup cars must go through one final check. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Bob, while it's true there have been many hours of midnight oil burn the past 2 months by these crews trying to massage and manicure these machines for their 90 seconds in the sun. Basically, 2 laps of qualifying, a little over 45 seconds a lap. But before they can qualify, they must pass through this area right here, NASCAR's technical inspection. Now, that was tough enough in years past, but this year, NASCAR has hired veteran crew chief Gary Nelson, long known for his ability to sort of creatively interpret the rules. So before they go out to qualify, they must come through this opening and satisfy what they're affectionately calling down here the gospel according to Gary. Bob?
58 drivers have drawn for an opportunity to run for the pole for the 34th annual Daytona 500 by STP. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today, from Daytona International Speedway in Florida, it's qualifying for the 34th annual Daytona 500 by STP. And once again, some very nice weather in Florida. Skies are partly cloudy, temperatures in the low 60s. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Daytona as we determine who is going to be the pole sitter for the Daytona 500 coming up a week from today. Now, we will not see any speed records broken. That's because NASCAR has mandated the restrictor plates. It holds the speed down. But we will see the pole one. That means a lot of prestige and a lot of money. Now, the first driver to go onto the track, last year's runner-up in the Winston Cup points, Ricky Rudd. Right now, let's get an explanation of how this qualifying procedure goes. Ned and Benny.
Well, Bob, of course, they'll take 2 laps today for the first time in several years on a super speedway. Normally, they only run 1 lap, but they do make the 2 laps if they choose to, the drivers, so they can get a little extra speed on that second lap.
Some of the guys felt like it was unfair to take 1 lap because they really and truly could not get the cars up to speed in 2.5 miles. It took more than that to get the cars up to speed. NASCAR listened to them and said, okay, we'll let you have 2 laps. But I think some guys will tape that grill up. Let's keep that air from going through the grill and only run 1 lap.
Well, even though there'll just be 2 positions determined here this afternoon, the front row starting positions for the Daytona 500 by STP, the other qualifying positions are very important because if you get a good time here this afternoon and then have trouble in 125-mile qualifying races, then it'll assure you getting in the Daytona 500.
That's basically what we're doing. We're qualifying for the qualifying races that will be held next Thursday. But you're right, if you have trouble in the 125-miler, you have to use your speed today to fall back on to start the Daytona 500.
All right, guys, and Rudd takes the green flag in that number 5 Tide Chevrolet, the 1983 pole sitter for the Daytona 500. It is on the first of 2 qualifying laps. I'm not so sure about what he's going to make a bonsai run here, huh?
He looked like he was. As he left the pits, he went out very high up in turn 1, ran through 3 and 4 very high, trying to make the racetrack as long as possible to get up to speed.
Ricky Rudd in last year's Daytona 500 started in 9th position, and he finished in 9th position.
One thing you don't hear them do here, Bob, you don't hear them decelerate as they go into these turns. They go in wide open.
About to complete lap number 1. There's the white flag. 2.5 miles completed and 2.5 miles to go for Ricky Rudd. Now, again, the track record here is 210.364. Will not reach that. And last year for this race, the pole speed was 195.955 miles an hour. Now, the first lap for Rudd is 47.692 seconds. That translates to a speed of 188.711.
Sure, Ricky would be a little bit disappointed with that, Bob. There's a little bit of a cloud cover here now over the sun, which should help. It should be ideal conditions for qualifying, but as we see, he is going ahead with his second lap. He should pick up about a quarter of a second. Let's see how that comes out.
Lap number 2 is quicker.
In practice this morning, he ran a 189.934 mile an hour lap, so he's off of what he turned in earlier today. Let's see what happened on lap number 2 for Ricky Rudd. It looks like he picked it up on lap number 2. That's going to be the best of the two, 47.416 seconds, and a speed of 189.809. That's the qualifying speed for Ricky Rudd.
Actually, a little bit more than a quarter of a second he picked up on the second lap.
So we have a Chevy qualified for the race. Of the 58 that drew 4 qualifying spots, 16 are Fords and 42 are GM products, but the Fords have shown the way as far as testing is concerned. Our Speed World coverage of Daytona qualifying being brought to you by Valvoline. People who know use Valvoline. And by ESPN Home Video, producers and distributors of Richard Petty and STP, available at video and retail stores nationwide. Coming up, the runs of Phil Parsons, who has a full-time effort, and Ernie Irvan. Back in a moment.
Al Unser Jr. knows the corkscrew at Laguna Seca with his eyes closed. Fortunate, considering it's a blind turn. Mark Martin knows if he lets someone cross his wake at 200 miles per hour, his car may be doing the lambada. And Joe Amato knows that at 296 miles per hour, he must pull his chute at precisely the right moment to keep from becoming an astronaut. Apparently, it is what you know.
If you can't wait, you need the News Weekly of Motoring, Auto Week. If you can't wait for driving impressions, get Auto Week. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. If you can't wait for car news, get Auto Week. Auto Week covers it all. The great old cars, the auto shows. Auto Week's columnists are controversial and fast. And if you can't wait for racing news, get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week races to bring you the winningest coverage first. If you can't wait, get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Our coverage of Daytona Stock Car Speed Weeks continues next Saturday night at 8:30 with coverage of the Goodies 300 Grand National Race. Next car to qualify is the very familiar number 9 Melling Ford. But it isn't Bill Elliott in the cockpit, as has been the case for many years. It is Phil Parsons. Set to go for a full season of Winston Cup competition, Phil Parsons begins his 5-mile qualifying run.
And that is one thrilled human being to be in that car, Bob. He set out all year in 1991 to not drive, and he is thrilled to death to be back.
He had very good testing speeds down here during December and January, so he could be at least our first above 190. His practice speed this morning was 190.625.
See how low he keeps it on the racetrack. Then as he starts off with the turn 4, drifts up reasonably close to the wall. Some will get closer than he did, but that's where the car feels comfortable to him.
Phil did not compete in last year's Daytona 500. His best career start here at Daytona, a 7th in 1989, and his best finish was in 1989. He finished 3rd in the Daytona 500. Phil Parsons' first qualifying lap is just a little bit under 190 miles an hour. It is 47.576 seconds, 189.171.
I bet he'll go over 190 miles an hour this time.
I think you will, and I tell you what, I hope that none of those fellows are planning on making one lap, because this headwind that's blowing, the wind is blowing down the back straightaway in the driver's face. That's really slowing those cars down, trying to get up to speed. So that first lap is not going to be very good.
Gene Roberts leading the crew on this team this year. There's the checkered flag, and Phil Parsons has turned in his qualifying run for this year's Daytona 500. A second lap. Yes, it is. It's above 190 miles an hour. It's the first turned in so far in qualifying. This time, 47.289, and the speed, 190.319 for Phil Parsons. Next to qualify will be the defending champion of the Daytona 500, Ernie Irvan. We turn back the clock to a year ago when Irvan passed Dale Earnhardt and went on to win his first super speedway event, the Daytona 500. He also won at Watkins Glen later in the year. Irvan finished 5th in the Winston Cup points. Ernie from Modesto, California. So can Ernie Irvan repeat his performance of last year when he qualified second outside the front row and came home the winner of the Daytona 500? Ernie Irvan in the Kodak Film Chevrolet on the racetrack for 2 laps of qualifying.
Ernie got a tough break this morning, lost #1 engine. The camshaft went out on the car. This is a brand new engine. It hasn't been on the racetrack, and Ernie's trying to qualify for the Daytona 500 with it.
Best speed this morning was 188.901, so he will be looking to improve upon that greatly.
That's quite a bit slower than he tested during the winter, and even yesterday, Bob, he was a good bit faster than that in some practice runs they had.
He, too, keeps that car on the bottom groove of the racetrack, now brings it into the tri-oval. Ernie Irvan taking the white flag and completing lap #1 of qualifying. Ernie Irvan.
I don't think that lap is too good, Bob.
It's not quite as good as we have seen by Parsons, Rudd, or Waltrip. The time is 48.042 and the speed 187.336.
Well, that speed that he ran this morning, the 188.5, was in with another engine. He's not been on the racetrack with this engine, first lap.
It's got to be disappointing for that team. They consistently have been the fastest of the Chevrolets, or certainly among the fastest of the Chevrolets.
Performed well in the Busch Clash yesterday here at Daytona. Qualifying run is over for Ernie Irvan. Looks like the second lap is going to be quicker than the first lap. Not by a whole lot, but a tick of the watch, Master.
Hey,
and something
water
was
coming out. It might have had it... the grill stopped up too much and the car simply overheated with him, and that's just overflow from the radiators that water boils out.
Second lap is quicker, 47.755, speed up to 188.462 for Ernie Irvan. So Phil Parsons, the only car above 190 at the moment. Rudd with a 189.8 and Irvan with a 188.4. Geoff Bodine and Harry Gant are coming up.
Your central fascination location is the Grand Central Mall. There's always plenty to do and see at the Grand Central Mall. So if you want to spend the whole day, it's the perfect place to shop.
Is your spouse the best in the world? Write down why in 50 words or less, and you could be part of the mall's exciting Valentine's Eve remarrying ceremony. You could also win a second honeymoon at the famous Greenbrier.
If you're shopping for gifts for loved ones or a little something for yourself, the mall is where you'll find it. The Grand Central Mall is where friends and good times get together. So stop by the Grand Central Mall today. It's your central fascination location.
Another Meineke profile of the smart and thrifty. They're not celebrities, they're not millionaires, but they know how to live. How can they afford all this fun in the sun? Did Dad make a killing in the stock market? Did Mum clean up on the garage sale? No, they saved and shopped wisely.
I didn't pay a lot for new brakes at Meineke.
Come to Meineke Discount Mufflers, the muffler and brake specialist, where you'll get more life out of your car and more miles for your dollar. At Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot for new brakes.
For the Tour's newest stars.
There it is. Now, Mom and Dad, and it's over.
It's in the hole all the way.
The Northern Telecom Open. 4-day coverage begins Thursday on ESPN. Tuesday, can Purdue avenge their early season loss to Illinois? Will LSU's one-man band Shaquille O'Neal continue to rack up the records when they meet Georgia? Find out the answers this terrific Tuesday, live on ESPN.
From yesterday, now on the speedway for his Busch Bowl qualifying run.
Now taking the green flag is the, I think you could say, somewhat surprise winner of the Busch Clash yesterday, Geoff Bodine in the Motorcraft Ford. Geoff had some problems in the first 10 laps of the Busch Clash, had some handling problems. During the break, came in and changed the tires and improved the handling of the car, and he won the second and final 10-lap heat.
I think he made a couple of pit stops during that break and made some adjustments in the car.
Said he came in and put one set of tires on, and as he went back out, he felt the vibration in those tires, came back in and put on another set.
Of course, this is one of the drivers who has changed teams since 1991, driving the car that last year was handled by Morgan Shepherd. This is Geoff Bodine, and he is the 1986 winner of the Daytona 500. His best starting position here for this race was second outside the front row, both in 1983 and in 1986. Geoff Bodine has turned in his first lap, and it's a little bit disappointing for Geoff. It is 48.085 seconds, and that translates to a speed of 187.169.
Yeah, I'd say that is disappointing. I think that he had hoped to run up there close to what Phil Parsons over 190 miles an hour.
Phil so far is the only driver who has qualified above 190 at 190.319.
Talking to the crew this morning, though, Geoff Bodine's crew, they were elated. They said, what a way to start the 1992 season. The first race out of the box, a victory.
Got to have at least a psychological advantage to Bodine and the team. Second lap, awaiting the time and speed report. First lap was 187.1, and the second lap is faster and will be the official qualifying lap for Geoff Bodine, 47.678. That's 188.766, and right now that is the third fastest recorded. Earlier, Benny and Ned talked about how some of the drivers tape the grills. Let's go down to further explanation from Dr. Punch.
This year, with two-lap qualifying at Daytona, they have changed the way they tape the grills on the front of these cars. Looking at the front of a Ford car, the Valvoline Ford of Mark Martin, you see an opening of about a half an inch in front of that car. So we've called up with their team manager, Steve Meal. And Steve, why do you tape a half an inch, or why do you leave a half an inch open?
Well, in years past, when you only ran one lap, you could make it all the way around the racetrack, tape completely off without overheating. But now that you want to take advantage of the speed gain you'll get from the second lap, you would overheat if you taped completely off. So with a Ford, it appears as though a half inch is enough opening. I'm noticing on some of the General Motors cars, they seem to need more of an opening to run 2 laps without overheating. That may be some of the advantage the Fords may have today.
Here is the guy that raised some eyebrows this morning. In the morning practice session here at Daytona, Harry Gant turned in the second fastest of all, a lap of 193.407. Harry Gant begins his 2-lap qualifying run.
Now, that was an elapsed time of 46.534 this morning when he made that run. Now that he has gone through that inspection again, of course, now before they went out on the track for any practice, they have to go through the NASCAR inspection. I guess they scrutinize them a little bit closer when they go out for qualifying and then, of course, for the race.
Mr. September, Harry Gant, you see 4 consecutive wins in September for 187.8. He's a little bit faster than Kyle was on that first lap on the back straightaway.
Harry Gant has been on the pole for Winston Cup events 15 times in his career. The most recent was at the second North Wilkesboro race just last year during his winning streak.
Now, fellas, I believe that he's going to be awfully close to Phil Parsons' first lap time. Phil, he turned 189.171 on his first lap. According to my unofficial watch, yep, he's a little bit faster, as a matter of fact.
47.552, 189.266 for Harry Gant. We will see many drivers in different colors and driving for different teams, but old Harry is Mr. Reliable, has been driving for Skoll for many years in that familiar green and white. 188.5 the backstretch speed. One interesting thing on this car, Old Timer Knives is a partial sponsor, and they've got Old Timer down the back of the car. It's very interesting.
So if he can pick up what most of these cars have been picking up, he'll be on the pole. Let's see. Harry Gant, maybe.
It's a good lap. Let's see if it's good enough to knock Phil Parsons off the pole position. He did it. Harry Gant is the fastest qualifier so far. 47.194 the time, and the speed 190.702. And at the moment, Harry Gant is on the pole for the Daytona 500. The Taylorsville, North Carolina driver moves to the top of the list, but coming up, Sterling Marlin, who's been one of the fastest in testing.
The winningest battery in NASCAR isn't a special racing battery. It's exactly the same battery you can buy for your car at Sears. Sears Die Hard, the battery that performs 3 times better than industry standards. Die Hard, more power when you need it most. After all, who's gonna back you better than Sears?
How to live like a mountain man. A true mountain man lives a solitary life, living for nothing more than an honest day's work and the rugged companionship of his fellow mountain men. It's a full-time job, but it does have its rewards, like smooth bush beer and easy drinking bush light. So, head for the mountains. Because once a mountain man has his mountains, what more could he possibly want?
We may be seeing the fastest run of the day coming up. There is Mike Beam, the crew chief on Sterling Marlin's number 22 car. He knows that Sterling has been the fastest in testing. He has been the fastest in morning practice at 194.171. And now it's time to determine whether or not Sterling Marlin can win his first pole position for the Daytona 500. The green flag comes out.
You're right. He was fastest in the December test. He was fastest in January. He was fastest this morning. In all the tests that was held, Sterling Marlin consistently one of the fastest cars.
I think Bill Elliott might have had a lap faster in January in the test, but it was very, very close. It was over 193 miles an hour for both of them.
Sterling Marlin won the pole for the Daytona Pepsi 400 here last July, and he was also on the pole for the Die Hard 500 at Talladega last year. So this car and this driver have good performances in restrictor plate races. Let's see whether or not. Look at the backstretch. Wow, 189.2, the trap speed for Sterling Marlin. We could be seeing the pole position one here on this run. Beam checks the stopwatch. He shakes his head. He doesn't like it.
Well, I doubt if it's as fast as they have been running, but he had the fastest first lap of any of them.
He did. He's moved to the pole position. 47.110, 191.042. Let's see if lap number 2 can be faster for Sterling.
Ned, look how flat that car is down the back straightaway with no rake at all in it. It looks like the car's set up to run a short track.
Well, it does, but I guess that's the way they have to do it now. Let's see what he did this time on the trap on the back stretch, 189.9.
So that car got up to speed, it looks like faster than all the other cars we've seen so far. Let's see if he's going to pick up 3/10. If he is, he'll be down in the 46-second bracket.
Sterling Marlin is on the pole right now for the Daytona 500 with a 191.042. The second lap is faster. It is above 192 miles an hour. The time, 46.823, and the speed, 192.213, and that's the speed now that everybody will be shooting for to try to knock Sterling Marlin off the pole for the Daytona 500. Weather can have a dramatic effect on the amount of speed that you achieve, and the weather appears to be changing here. For more on that, here's John Kernan.
Well, Bob, yes, the weather has changed. The sun has popped out from behind the clouds, and that will heat up the track, and that should slow things down. Now, also, the wind has apparently picked up down here on pit road. Now, whether that's the case on the backstretch, we'll have to wait and see, but we could see the speeds go way down in the next few moments.
Next out to qualify in the Quaker State Ford is Geoff Bodine. Now, the colors are same, and the driver is the same, but again, a change of make. for the Kenny Burns team.
Was that hard for you to say, Ford?
Yes, it was. I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
It sounded strange to me, I'll tell you, because we've seen him drive a Buick for so long, and here he is in a Ford T-Bird.
Last year in the Daytona 500, Geoff Bodine started in 41st position after a crash in his 125 that resulted in a backup car. He finished in 22nd position. Brett has 2 pole positions in his career, the most recent at the first North Wilkesboro race in 1991.
Good backstretch speed, 188 miles an hour. That might be the second fastest speed we've seen on the back straightaway.
And everybody was thinking that maybe the General Motors cars would get up to speed quicker, but the faster ones we have seen on the backstretch there have been the Fords.
Now, the engine in this car has been built by Ernie Elliott. Remember, he built engines for his brother Bill for years and years in that number 9 car. He's still building. There's a speed, 47,598, 189,084 for Geoff Bodine. That does not reflect his fast back straightaway speed.
Johnny Richardson shown as the crew chief on this car, but as you indicated, Ernie Elliott is building the engines. 188.4, the trap speed down the backstretch for Brett. He brings the car into the tri-oval off of corner number 4, and he sees the checkered flag ahead. There it is. Bodine completes his qualifying run. He's going to try to break that 190-mile-an-hour mark on his second lap. The first lap was just under 190 at 189.084. Second lap is above 190. The time, 47.361, and the speed, 190.030. So that's the official qualifying lap for Geoff Bodine in the Quaker State Ford. But it remains Sterling Marlin, the fastest and the pole sitter so far. But coming up, King Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip. Back in a moment.
Most of our customers come to AutoZone for low prices and for parts they can replace themselves. But many people come because we speak their language. Things like duration and lift and compression ratios, stuff like that. Because a guy who's going to rebuild an engine, he won't buy parts from just anybody. And since AutoZone stocks complete engines, we know what makes them tick inside and out. Sure, we sell our best parts at our best prices every day. But if we know something that's going to help you do the job right, you get that free.
Olympic gold medalist Kennedy McKinney puts his undefeated record on the line. He'll face Sugar Baby Rojas for the United States Junior Featherweight Championship. Top Rank Boxing, Sunday night live on ESPN.
All year long, we'll be bringing you Richard Petty memories as he begins his final full year of competition in Winston Cup.
For the past 2 years, Richard Petty's performance at Daytona International Speedway has conjured up visions of the past. His familiar STP red, Petty blue Pontiac powering its way to the front. So with his final Daytona 500 just a week away, he reflects on what a victory would mean.
Well, just be the crown on top of everything that you've done for the last 34 years. You know, any win that I could get lucky in 92 and win, will run good, but Daytona is, again, the biggest thing going. It's always no matter who wins it, it carries you out through the whole year. This wouldn't only carry me through the year, it would carry what I've done the last 7 times. It would bring those back into focus too.
With 7 Daytona 500 victories and hoping to make it 8 in his final appearance in the Daytona 500, here is Richard Petty. And one of the very interesting things in this situation is, despite the fact that he has won this event 7 different times, how many times has he been on the pole?
Beats me.
Once.
Really?
1966 was the only time that Richard Petty started from the pole position. Here's There's the green flag, and the King is on his way.
Now, he's had some good practice runs, test speeds during the winter.
And this morning, Ned, got the STP Pontiac up to 190.9, almost 191 miles an hour. So King Richard Petty has performed very well in the past couple of years here at Daytona.
Of all the tracks on the circuit, I think that Daytona is Richard Petty's best racetrack. And I think he could win the Daytona 500 probably as easy as any other race that we run all year.
I think you're right.
He looks smooth off of turn 4. White flag waves. 1 lap completed.
Qualifying for his final Daytona 500, the last time he'll qualify.
Not all that impressive.
Has he cut it off? Is he up? Is he done?
No, I think he's still up speed.
Okay, he just made a much lower turn into turn 1 than some of the others. Went quicker in there than some of the others, but maybe that's the way to do it.
188, 47.811 seconds.
Yeah, he's still fully on the gas.
3 and 4, back to the trioval area.
Well, if he picks up 3 to 4 tenths like others been picking up, it'll be a good time for him.
Every time he qualifies for a race, history is made. That is the final time that Richard Petty will qualify for a Daytona 500.
That was Robbie Loomis, his crew chief, that looked at the stopwatch, nodded like he was happy.
Hey, he did pick it up considerably. He was about a half second faster on lap number 2, 47.391, and the speed is up to 189.909, and right now, the King is 5th fastest. Next to go will be Darrell Waltrip, who had an up-and-down season in 1991. He recorded 2 victories, one at Pocono, one at North Wilkesboro. Those were the high moments, but there was also a low moment here at Daytona.
Uh-oh, we've got a problem. For sure, Darrell Waltrip is still running. Uh-oh, Waltrip car gets on his wheel and over and over.
Darrell Waltrip tumbling down the backstretch. Well, Darrell Waltrip will come back to the track that he suffered that flip in, and look at the wind, how it's picked up in the last couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's picked up quite a bit, Bob, and that'll affect them on the straightaway. We've talked about them having a tailwind down the front straightaway here, but it'll hurt them more on the backstretch.
Darrell Waltrip in the Western Auto Chevrolet Carnival 17 is on his way. And Darrell Waltrip, when you consider the recent era, that is from 1971, there's the front stretch trap speed, 185.2. He has more pole positions than any other active driver with 57. Of course, if you go back to the beginning of NASCAR, 1949, Richard Petty has the most pole positions at 127. He won the Daytona 500 in 1989.
I'm really disappointed with that front stretch speed on Darrell. Let's see what the back straightaway speed is. 184. Hey, as a matter of fact, I'm disappointed with both those speeds. It looks like DW is going to struggle to get a good speed today.
130,
Last year, Darrell started 10th, finished 24th. 1 lap completed for Waltrip.
Let's see if he can pick it up. He was 185 the last time down the front straightaway. Oh, yes, 187.5. So he's got his car up to speed. So maybe he had a rear end, a real high rear end, and couldn't get up speed quickly enough.
There's a first lap, 48.089, 187.153.
And then another thing that'll hurt him get that speed up, as you pointed out earlier, the headwind that he has on the backstretch. Now trying to get the speed up on that first lap is really going to be a killer for him.
Yeah, it's almost more than 2 miles an hour slower down the backstretch for Darrell.
Difference in the wind.
in the Western Auto Chevrolet.
When you look at the all-time pole position list as Darrell Waltrip completes his qualifying run, you find some very interesting names, including Ned Jarrett, who won 36 pole positions in his career, and Benny Parsons, who had 20 career pole positions, including the pole position for this race. Waltrip quicker on the second lap, 47.821, a speed of 188.202. That puts him 14th in line. At the top of the list, though, remains Sterling Marlin in the Ford. However, a couple of top Ford drivers, Davey Allison and Mark Martin, are next.
There is a gasoline that is clearly advanced. A gasoline that will give you the highest level of engine cleaning for high performance. A gasoline formulated to clean fuel injectors and intake valves. Who has this gasoline? You know who. Phase 4 gasoline from Exxon. For cleaner engines and high performance.
We got a problem. Any ideas? I've got a contact, sir. Well, get on it then. Secure the area. Get him here now. Let's roll! Go, go, go! Where'd you find him? He's been with the organization for a while. Nice job, sir.
With years of training, Napa Auto Care technicians provide a secret service everyone should know about.
In the past 7 years, only 3 drivers have won the pole position for the Daytona 500. 1985 through 87, it was Bill Elliott. 1988 through 90, it was Ken Schrader. Last year, this guy, Davey Allison, sat on the pole for the Daytona 500. He will be trying to continue that streak of 3 in a row as he goes for his qualifying effort right now. His car owner, Robert Yates, is down with Jerry Punch.
Bob, car owner and engine builder, and Robert Yates, you told me just a minute ago you don't think you've got a shot at the pole. Why?
Well, you know, we didn't start really working on the pole because we brought one car here, and it seems like the engine won't get temperature in it or something the first lap, and or even the second lap. So, you know, we're not in the hunt for the pole, but we'd like to get a good qualifying lap and just have that speed.
You sat on the pole here a year ago, but you brought back a different race car. Why?
Well, when we tested both of the cars, this car drove better. The other car's a little quicker. We're interested in the 500. We had the pole last year. We left here without the win. We'd like to take home the 500.
So gambling on qualifying, they're going for the race. Let's see how he does.
Davey Allison started from the pole position last year. 186.8 is the front stretch trap speed. He finished in 15th position after that incident late in the race. And earlier today, Allison recorded a 191.2. Now, the speed that they're going for to get onto the front row is Harry Gant's 190.702, and the speed they're shooting for to get onto the pole is Sterling Marlin's 192.213.
We can see that he's getting that car up to speed because he was faster down the backstretch than he was the front stretch, even though the wind is blowing in his face. So he's picking up speed. He's up to speed now, or should be.
Well, they said 47.60 something. I had 47.69 on my unofficial clock. We'll get the official reading here in just a moment.
189.6 faster down the front stretch.
He picked up 4 miles an hour on the front stretch that time.
Your stopwatch was pretty close, Ned. 47.696 speed, 188.695. That's 11th fastest at the moment.
He's got to pick up a bunch. He's got to pick up 1/2 second to beat Harry Gant. 1/2 second. It's going on the backstretch naturally because of the wind. 1.5 miles an hour slower, but he's a little faster than most. Most cars have been about 2 miles an hour slower.
The Texaco Haviland Ford completes its qualifying effort for the 1992 Daytona 500 by STP. First lap, 188.695. Second lap, better?
Well, that was not a pole-winning speed. Look on Robert Yates' face, and we can see there
Yeah.
it is not quite.
But it's above 190. It's 190.271, and that makes Davey Allison the 4th fastest qualifier today. Well, the list of capable drivers is growing small. It appears as if Sterling Marlin may have the pole position. He's with John Kernan.
Well, a fantastic run for Sterling Marlin. Still a little bit slower than what you ran in practice this morning.
Yeah, it was good and cool this morning. Went out like 9, and, you know, the wind was dead still, and it was perfect conditions this morning. And the winds kicked up pretty bad down the back straight. We lost probably 150 RPMs down the backside, but it's hurt everybody, so hopefully the stand up.
A new sponsor for this car, the Jack Roush Ford, driven by Mark Martin. The sponsorship is Valvoline this year, and Jerry Punch is with Jack Roush.
Jack, you guys ran a 46.82 this morning. If you duplicate that run right now, that'll put you possibly on the pole or at least on the front row.
We'd sure like to be able to go that fast now, but, you know, we had a couple of days going for us this morning. It was a little cooler then, and there was no wind. There's a pretty big headwind on the long back straightaway here that's going to slow the cars some down. Of course, the other thing that happens whenever we're in practice, as we were this morning, is you've got some prevailing wind around the racetrack by virtue of all the cars that are there. Even if you're not close to a car, the fact that there's other cars out there will give you a little bit of a favorable wind.
That's right, Jack, the temperature has dropped at least 10 degrees since the beginning of qualifying. How will that affect you?
Yeah, we're smiling about that right now. We're 40th or 41st, I've forgotten which, out of roughly 60 cars. NASCAR's decided to give 2 laps per car, and that's has slowed down the process of running the cars off. So there's much more time between when the first cars went and when the last cars are going, which we're one of the last cars to go.
So 190.8 will wait for Mark Martin's second lap as Jack Roush, the car owner and engine builder, stands here and watches his car qualify. Bob?
47.28, the speed 190.343, slow just a little bit. Now, he is third fastest so far, and if he can pick up on this second lap, he could very well knock Harry Gant off the front row, and he may even knock Sterling Marlin off the pole.
Well, he was a little bit slower. Excuse me, Bob. He was a little bit slower on his first lap than was Sterling Marlin, but maybe he can pick it up.
He did.
Jack's happy.
Yeah, you can see the reaction to Jack Roush. He has learned that Mark Martin has knocked Gant off the front row. Martin is outside the front row, Jerry.
You saw the smiles from Jack Roush. You said you wanted a front row spot. Right now you got one.
Yeah, I was a little further around the racetrack because we were doing our business there, but I was pretty sure he'd got it. We're real happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jack Roush puts a car on the front row, and is he happy? Take a look at that grin.
Martin with a 191.750 is outside the front row. Sterling Marlin remains on the pole with a 192.213.
Mattress Warehouse is really moving them out as the gigantic clearance sale continues. Hurry to save on Posturepedics and to save store-wide only at Mattress Warehouse.
Even the hottest fighter pilot can't face this enemy alone. Become an Air Force physician. Aim high. Air Force.
Both the brown trout and the brook trout of the eastern streams and the...
Isn't there anything else on?
Different people like different things.
This looks good.
Which is why this year at TCI...
This looks good. No.
We're spending over $600 million on cable programming.
No.
Just to make sure there's always something on. Everyone wants to watch.
Oh, hi. Want to see a story about the plastonauts?
At least that's the goal.
Okay. Here's one about a robot. You know, a machine that's used for different kinds of jobs.
Pioneers, Lindbergh in 27, Armstrong in 69, and now Earthwinds in 92. The first around-the-world balloon adventure. Earthwinds The Launch, coming soon live on ESPN. Controversial Ben Johnson, world record holder, and America's gold medal hopefuls tune up for the Summer Olympics on what could be the world's fastest indoor track. Live Saturday night on ESPN.
Can Dale Earnhardt repeat his victory here last year in the Goodies 300 Grand National Race? Join us next Saturday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. Bill Elliott won the pole position 3 consecutive years for the Daytona 500, 85, 86, and 87. In 87, he set the all-time track record here at Daytona, 210.364. But, of course, the restrictor plates have reduced the speed since then. As a matter of fact, they have decreased each year to 195.9 last year. They're down to 192.2, the pole speed right now for Sterling Marlin. Jerry Punch has a report on pit road.
Bob, minutes ago, before they closed the window net on Bill Elliott's Budweiser Ford, the crew came over and reminded him of one thing. He has won the pole here for the Daytona 500 3 times, and this morning he ran a 46.68. If he duplicates that right now, he will get his 4th Daytona 500 pole. Back for you.
That 46.68 translates to a 192.798. and 192.213 is the speed that they are shooting for the pole position. Bill Elliott, in his first effort, his first lap, he has turned in the third fastest qualifying time so far this afternoon. The time, 47.194, and the speed, 190.702.
Looks like an all-Junior Johnson front row to me, Ned.
Yes, sir. If he can pick up as much as some of the others has picked up, he might even challenge his teammate Sterling Marlin for the pole.
We could be seeing the run for the pole right here. There's the front stretch trap, 192, backstretch 190.2. Here comes Elliott off turn number 4, down to the trioval to receive the checkered flag. This could be the pole winner. Let's see if he got it. There's not a whole lot of celebration down there on pit road. I don't believe he did it.
That's Tim Brewer shaking his head, the crew chief on the car, walking away, shaking his head. And no, he did not do it.
But he did knock Mark Martin off the front row. Elliott is outside the front row right now with the second fastest speed of the day. The time, 46.853, and the speed, 192.090. And there is a Junior Johnson front row right now. And here is the other driver who won 3 consecutive pole positions, 1988, 89, and 90. From Fenton, Missouri, here's Ken Schrader taking the green flag.
So far, the General Motors cars just haven't been able to find that speed they're all looking for. It's 3 Fords, the first 3 cars in an Oldsmobile, and then 3 more Fords. Back to Richard Petty, who's currently 8th spot.
Last year, Schrader started 24th in the Daytona 500, finished 31st. During his career, he has recorded 10 pole positions. The most recent at the World 600 in 1990.
He was not in the Busch Clash this year.
There, the trap speeds, 183.6 and 183.4. Very, very similar.
Wow, that's got to be disappointing.
Just could not get that car up to speed that first lap as he went by the front straightaway. And look, his speed looks to be awfully slow.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be disappointed with this. Of the 37 cars that have qualified to this point, he is 28th on the list with a 48.494, 185.590.
What'd you say, 28th fastest so far?
Yeah.
Wow.
What a difference a couple of years makes, huh?
Well, that's the truth. That is really surprising.
186.1, 184.4, the trap speeds, front stretch and back stretch. Let's see if Schrader can pick it up on lap number 2 after a disappointing 185.590. Second lap. It is faster, but it really isn't that much faster, and it only moves him up now to 27th fastest on the day, a 48.145 and a 186.935 for Ken Schrader. Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott are on the front row, but yet to qualify the defending Winston Cup champion, Dale Earnhardt.
Up here, the days run long. Sometimes the job is all uphill, but you keep on going. And once you've made it all the way to the top, the mountains will take your breath away and remind you there's no place you'd rather be than right here, right now.
Most of our customers come to AutoZone for low prices and for parts they can replace themselves. But many people come because we speak their language. Things like duration and lift and compression ratios, stuff like that. Because a guy who's going to rebuild an engine, he won't buy parts from just anybody. And since AutoZone stocks complete engines, we know what makes them tick inside and out. Sure, we sell our best parts at our best prices every day. But if we know something that's going to help you do the job right, you get that free.
Don't wait. Get the news weekly of motoring, Auto Week. Don't wait for driving impressions. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. Don't wait for car news. Auto Week covers the world. Auto shows, the new, the old, and brings it to you fast. Don't wait for racing news. Get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week brings you the winningest coverage first. Don't wait. Get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Welcome back to pole qualifying. Dale Earnhardt will be on the track in just a moment, but first let's watch the run of Dorsey Schroeder. He's driving the number 90 Whistler radar detector Ford. And this car is owned by Junie Donlevy, but he's getting some help from Jack Roush.
Well, this has a Jack Roush engine in the car. As a matter of fact, Whistler came to Roush and said, we want to run in the Daytona 500. He called Donlevy. He said, how about putting Whistler on your car? I'll supply engines. They made a deal. Here they are. And Donlevy is thrilled to death to be here because he's been coming down here since they were running on the beach years ago in the 50s.
Did you see that trap speed, 188.4? This may be a good run for Dorsey, who has gained most of his racing experience in road racing. He won the Rolex 24 at Daytona GTS division.
I talked to Donlevy all winter. He's been excited about coming down. He said the car's been running great, and we can see by the trap speeds, the car is running very good. Let's see what kind of speed we've got. He completes that first lap. It looks like he is going for that second lap. All cars have been running a little bit faster on the second lap. We'll see if Donlevy's car or Dorsey Schroeder does the same.
Woo, look at that. Over 190 on the front stretch. The second lap. Let's take a look at the overall time and speed report. 47.366 seconds. 190.010, and he has got to be the surprise of the entire day.
That's got him in the top 10. If he can get a little bit more speed, maybe he'll get in the top 5.
Talked to Dorsey earlier this week, backstretch that time 189.6. Asked him if he might run more races than just this Daytona 500. He says it completely depends upon sponsorship and additional money. If Whistler likes the way things went, then they may come back and run more Winston Cup races. Checkered flag falls for Dorsey Schroeder. His qualifying effort is complete. And that first lap was very impressive. Let's see if he picked it up on lap number 2. It is faster, Benny. 47.021, 191.404, and that's the 4th best of the entire session. Well, next to go is the defending Winston Cup champion, Dale Earnhardt. We turn back the clock to 1991. Remember at Atlanta Motor Speedway when all Dale Earnhardt had to do is flip the switch, start the car, take the green flag, and he would become the Winston Cup champion. His 5th Winston Cup championship. And oh boy, remember that night in New York City in December? The $1 million bonus from RJR. All that Dale Earnhardt has accomplished in his Winston Cup career, and there is the crew walking down to the 4th turn area of the pits looking for Dale's qualifying effort here. All he's accomplished in his career, he has not yet won the Daytona 500, and he wants to put that trophy in his trophy room. He's qualifying for the Daytona 500 right now. 187.0. That was the trap speed on the front stretch. Here comes Earnhardt off the second corner and down the back stretch.
Pretty good that first time by Ned on that front stretch.
It was a good speed. Best we've seen in a while. Of course, he's got to get up there to over 192 miles an hour if he wants to sit on the front row.
We haven't seen Earnhardt. He's not been in any races. 187 down the back straightaway. He's not been in any races. We don't really know too much about this new car of his. But we're going to know in just a second as he takes the white flag, including that first qualifying run.
There's Kirk Shelmerdine, his crew chief. First lap for Dale Earnhardt is not nearly fast enough to get onto the front row. It is 14th fastest on the day. Time, 47.676. Speed, 188.774. Dale Earnhardt did not earn a pole position last year. However, he has recorded 12 in his Winston Cup career, the most recent at the Southern 500 at Darlington in 1990.
He's going to have to pick up about 0.3 of a second on this second lap to get in the top 10.
The GM Goodwrench Chevrolet comes down and receives the checkered flag. Earnhardt trying to at least get into the top 10. Front row starting position not realistic. And he is in the top 10. That second lap put him 8th fastest on the day. It was 47.348, speed 190.082. That's the 8th fastest in qualifying for the Daytona 500. The front row will consist of Sterling Marlin at 192.2 and his teammate Bill Elliott at 192.0. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
The winningest battery in NASCAR isn't a special racing battery. It's exactly the same battery you can buy for your car at Sears. Sears Die Hard, the battery that performs 3 times better than industry standards. Die Hard, more power when you need it most. After all, who's gonna back you better than Sears?
If potato chips are gonna cross your lips, keep them fresh, make them fine all the time. That's Pringles, pop the Pringles. Not like chips in a bag, they don't stay fresh, it's a drag. Candles bagged with buster pieces, get your hands full of greases. We've got whole crunchy chips, clean and crispy to your lips. Pringles, pop the Pringles. Go for fresh because Pringles got them. Fresh pop right to the bottom. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Pronto Auto Parts. From coast to coast, your local Pronto Auto Parts store features friendly service and quality auto parts at lower prices.
For some, it's life. To win, all parts must work to perfection. The Motorcraft World Champions win with the same Motorcraft parts you can buy for your car. Motorcraft quality parts from Ford.
When you need quality auto parts, ask the pro at Pronto.
Well, he didn't win the pole, but you would not think so. That big smile from Dorsey Schroeder. He was 4th fastest overall today here at Daytona. Now, the Sears Die Hard front row consists of Sterling Marlin at 192.2 and Bill Elliott at 192.0. Let's hear from the front row members. Let's go first to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Sterling Marlin picked up his first ever Daytona 500 pole, and Sterling, it's an all Junior Johnson front row.
Yeah, you know, both cars have been real quick down here testing, and I was holding my breath when Bill went because he went, quite a bit later than I did, and I was hoping the wind would stay up, and it was just enough. And I'm really excited about it. You know, Maxwell House and Texas Pete being on the car and just coming here, and it's a dream of mine to sit on the pole down here. It's a real big thrill, and we're really going to be trying.
Well, Bill Elliott hangs on to the second starting position, guaranteed a front row starting spot alongside your teammate Sterling Marlin. A little friendly competition there for the pole.
Good down here the 4th of July and sit on the pole and ran good at Talladega. So, you know, we had those odds to beat. You know, this is a couple of new cars that Tim had fixed for us to come down here and run because their other car they ran down here 4th of July got tore up at Talladega last fall. So, you know, for them, I think they've done a fantastic job to come down here and be that close. You know, with a little bit of change here and there, it made the difference. But, you know, we can always go back and second guess ourselves at this point in time. But, you know, all in all, things have gone well. You know, all the folks at Budweiser's treated me super nice, and so far it's been a real good relationship.
Excited.
Congratulations to both Sterling and Bill on their front row here, the fastest 5 qualifiers, and that's changed recently because Harry Gant's qualifying run has been disallowed. We talked about the strict NASCAR technical inspection that the cars must go through, and in post-qualifying inspection, Harry Gant's car, the front air dam, was 1/4 of an inch too low, and so that run has been disallowed, and Harry Gant will have to re-qualify in second round efforts on Monday afternoon. Our Speed World coverage of pole qualifying has been brought to you by Smooth Busch Beer and easy drinking Busch Light. Our coverage of Stock Car Speed Weeks continues next Saturday night at 8:30 with the Goodies 300 Busch Grand National Race. And don't forget a live edition of Speed Week next Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time from here at the World Center of Racing. Again, the die-hard front row members, Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott. For Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch, this is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.